And just like that, I am back. Welcome to tonight's podcast with your girl Dina, as always. So you already know what time it is. First of all, don't forget to speak when you come back and tell me hello. It ain't gonna cost you a thing, right? So I just want to jump on briefly to be consistent in my live, right? And so I posted a video a few minutes ago on Facebook and I was talking about my t-shirt. So if you can see my t-shirt, I'm not sure if you can see because I think my camera doing something, but it says single, saved, and satisfied, right? And so tonight's topic came from this t-shirt, right? So tonight's topic I came up with was unavailable does not mean unapproachable. And like, what are you talking about? So today I went to the doctor's office and I had my t-shirt on and a lot of everybody, I guess because it's red and I had this red lipstick on, everybody was looking at my t-shirt. And so the lady was like, oh, I like that, I like that. And as I was standing there before I approached, I heard the Lord say, you're going to tell the story. And I was like, "Hmm, okay." So I get up to the counter and the lady read my shirt. She's like, I said, well, it's a story behind it. She said, well, honey, I'm waiting on the story. I said, well, I knew you was going to be waiting on the story because the Lord already just told me that I was going to have to tell the story, right? So I go in and tell her about the story, how I was at this restaurant and this guy, eventually asked me what was my status. Was I single? Was I in a situationship? Was I married? And I told him that I was single, saved, and satisfied. And he was like, what? I said, he said, say that again. And so I said it again. He said, ooh, I like that girl. You need to pop your collar because I like that. I said, yeah, that's what I am because during this journey, this is the place that I have gotten to, right? Can I say that I've always been single, saved, and satisfied? Absolutely not. I have, for the most part, not been satisfied being single because I looked at the status as wrong. And so I've been in a journey where God has been teaching me to be content in whatever state that you're in, right? And so I have learned to become satisfied where I am and with who I am and where God has me, right? So that is where that single, saved, and satisfied came from. And I was telling this lady about it, Nisi, and she said, girl, I'm gonna make that into a shirt for you. And I was like, okay. She said, what color you want? And I said, make it red. So when she made it red, and when I tell you, anytime I wear this shirt, it is a conversation piece. And so when I told the lady about it, her coworker was sitting there listening too. So now everybody in the doctor's office listening, right? And she said, I just tell men now that I'm taking because I don't want to be bothered. And so I looked at her and I said, well, do you want to be in a relationship? Do you want somebody? She was like, yeah. I said, so why would you tell them that you are taking and you're not? You could have just pushed your blessing right on out the door. I said, just because you're single doesn't mean that you're available, right? Because you may not be available to everybody. I said, so you need to tell them that I'm just unavailable instead of you're taken because you just blocked your own blessing by saying you were taken instead of saying unavailable. So what does unavailable mean? Unavailable means that you're guarded, not closed off. Unavailable means that I have standards. It means that access to me is earned and not assumed. It means that you are not entertaining everything or everybody, but you're not rejecting anything either. Because we want to stay open, because you know what? This journey we are on, y'all, I have been preparing and waiting for God to send their kingdom spouse, right? So we don't want to block what we have been preparing and training for. No, absolutely not. But we do want to be more guarded and not closed off to who and what God sends, because you don't want to miss your promise now. We didn't wait it too long. We didn't wait it well. We didn't did the work. So of course now we don't want to miss it, right? So to be approachable means what? Open to God, not open to everybody. Okay. So you can be warm without being out wide open like everybody that you meet. You ain't got to give me your number just because you're single and you want to go out on a date. That's what discernment comes in at. Because I'm gonna tell you, here I go telling y'all my business already. I used to go, if a person would ask me for my number, 9 times out of 10, I probably would, but after that one conversation, you'd be like, nah, this ain't, and I ain't finna answer the phone no more, or whatever. Or you can get, if you talk to that person, which we need to do more of, talking to them on the front end versus giving them a phone number. No, let's get some conversation going. Let's see what you're talking about. Where your mind at? I ain't saying you gotta ask them 1,001 questions about their life history or whatever. Just have a conversation with them. And while you having a conversation with them, I can guarantee there's some things that may be like, no, I'm good on that. I appreciate you, but it was good talking to you. Because just like the situation with the guy I met at the restaurant, and when during the course of the time when we were sitting next to each other, and he was with his friend, I was with my friend. But when they was talking to the bartender, whatever, and I was listening to the conversation, because I already knew where it was going because discernment, okay. And so from the things that I heard when I got ready to leave, he was like, "So you finna leave?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, can I get your number?" I just smiled and was just so nice. I was like, "I'm sorry, I'm unavailable. I can't do that. But you have a good evening. It was nice to meet you." And went on by my day. Nothing lost, nothing gained, because I knew the Lord ain't told me to go over that way. Okay. So I was nice and I gracefully bowed out and I did not allow access. We had conversation while we was there, but that was that on there, right? So avoidance is not discernment. So what the lady told me when she said that she just tell the guy that she's taking, that ain't discernment. That is avoidance. She is avoiding what could be potentially good or bad just by saying that she was taken, right? So saying I'm taken is a trauma response. And their trauma response can either come from disappointments in the past, so you don't want to allow yourself to be open. It could come from fear that's rooted in wisdom, once again, from past situations, or even doubt, or even not having the faith to believe that God can send and will send what you desire and what you want and what you need, because God knows what you want and who you want, but He also knows what you need and when you need them, right? So avoidance is also self-protection, but it's rooted in fear and not wisdom. It blocks what God may be trying to introduce to you. So make sure that you be careful when somebody does try to approach you, right? You could take a second to pray. I don't care if they're standing right there, you can say the prayer in your mind, because what does the Bible say? In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. All of your ways. Lord, should I talk to this person? Lord, should I get this person my phone number? Lord, should I move on? And guess what? The Lord will tell you, something ain't right. Go ahead. Or listen, stay there. Listen to what they got to say. It's okay. And they might even say something that will confirm something the Lord told you. So, quick little prayer. Lord, should I not? If not, no, nothing lost. Just, it was nice meeting you. You have a great day. Hope to see you again in the passing. Okay. So, how, with all of that being said, instead of her saying what she said, which was a trauma response, right? So you're saying, how do I protect my peace without blocking my promise? That's what it all boiled down to when after we finished the conversation. I understand that you don't want to be bothered with foolishness. You don't want to be bothered with people who are inconsistent. You don't want to be bothered with people who um just interrupt your peace, because peace is priceless, right? So how do I protect my peace without blocking my promise? One, you set your standards. Your standards are your standards. And don't let nobody tell you they're too high, because you know what you desire and God knows what you desire. Long as you align your standards with God's standards and what He has for you, you can't go wrong. So I'm tell you another one of my other secrets. I said a couple of years ago, I said, you know what, Lord? I'm tired of choosing the wrong ones, right? Because it looked good on the beginning, maybe in the middle, but on the end, it doesn't go to where I want it to go. So I'm done choosing. So I'm going to step back and I'm going to allow you to choose. I know we should have been doing this all along, but guess what? On this journey, that is finally the place that I got to. And I said, God, I want who you want. I want you to send me who you want. I want you to send me your best, not Dina best, because Dina best can be wrote on paper. But when you ask God to send you his best, he will Put in them things that you didn't even know you wanted or desired, because he knows all things right from the beginning to the end. He knows who you need, when you need them, and he can see way past we can, right? So always make sure you stay spirit led. Don't pre-decide what God can't do. You know, we got that bad, but now God ain't gonna be able to use him, or God, it ain't it. Listen, you don't know what God can do, how he can do it, and when he can do it, okay? And don't get ahead of God. That's very important, right? You gotta wait on God. It's a song playing in my background called Wait on God. And I think it's a song by Nia Allen. And she talks about God help me to wait. Help me to be patient and to wait. And it's crazy because at the beginning of this journey, the Lord kept giving me that song by Nia Allen. God help me to wait. Help me to be patient and to wait. I heard this song for a week straight. And after that first week, when I heard it again, I knew that there was God talking to me, because he deals with me with songs. And I listened to the song over and over again. And it just says, Lord, help me to wait. Help me to be patient and to wait. Because when you wait for God's best, I promise you, it's going to be worth the wait, okay? And that's all I got for y'all tonight. I stay under my time. But hold on, y'all already know I got to close you out. Let me open my phone up and give y'all my close out, okay? And on here, my close out says, honey, where is it at? My closeout is says, your peace is precious, but it's not meant to become a prison. You can be selective without being scared. You can be satisfied and still open. You can be unavailable to the wrong thing and still approachable to the right thing. So, of course, as always, my closing prayer for us tonight is, God, teach us how to guard our peace without guarding our hearts from you. Show us how to stay open, discerning, and aligned. Help us recognize what you send and release what you didn't. Give us courage to be approachable, wisdom to be selective, and peace that protects without isolating. May this week bring clarity, confidence, and quiet confirmation. You're not behind. You are becoming the person that God desires you to be, so that when he releases this kingdom spouse to you, that you're going to be able to have the capacity to be a blessing in it and not be a burden, because a blessing given too soon is a burden, right? So we have waited well. So continue to wait well, because as always, honey, it's closer than you think. Okay. Until next time. Peace out.